Voyage. It's a pleasure to be here again. Here we go. So, we're finishing up a series today, and that series is on sex. Now, the series is coming to an end, but that doesn't mean we're coming to an end. I'm going to continue to move forward next week on a series on Easter. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to dive in with you guys, despite us having to still do videos instead of meeting in person. I'm happy, you're happy, we're all happy. Everything's going to be all right. Now let's dive on in. So we're finishing up the series today on sex, and today's message that I have for you guys is very, very important. It's about temptation. So when you're presented with something that you really, really want, it's hard to give in to the temptation to get it. Now, perfect example. About a year ago, I was walking through the mall down in Indianapolis, and it was one of those weird ice cream shops where like you pick your cream or whatever, and then you like pick your toppings, and then they put it on this flat thing. They blast it with like some like cold air, and then it freezes up and it turns into ice cream, and you eat it. And it's really expensive, but I'm like, I gotta try this. I have to do it. It's tempting, and I have to do it. And I gave in, and I spent a bunch of money to try ice cream that truly was no different than any other ice cream I've ever had. I couldn't taste the difference. I didn't notice a difference. The only difference is it was like $7, which was totally not worth it in the long run. But that's just a temptation. Temptations are tough because when you give into them, it changes your mind about something. It can really mess with you. Now, when it comes to sex, it's a little bit tricky because God made sex. So it's good. It's good if we follow His plan for it through marriage. Now, for some of us, we're dealing with sexual temptation every day. Every day we're dealing with it. And for some of us, maybe it's a newer feeling. We're curious about it, and it's just like a newer temptation. Don't really know what to do with it. Some of us, maybe we're not dealing with sexual temptation, but you feel tempted in other ways that prevent you from living God's best for you. Now, whatever tempts us, it's important to know how to overcome it. Now, because God created sex and sexual desires, we shouldn't feel shameful, guilty, or fear those things, but God created them to happen in the context of marriage, so it can be tricky. When it comes to temptations, how do we know what we're supposed to do? And what we're going to do is we're going to dive into 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 18. It reads, "Run from sexual sin. No other sin clearly affects the body as this one does. For sexual immorality is a sin against your own body." We're going to skip forward to verse 19. "Do you realize that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, who lives in you and was given to you by God? You do not belong to yourself, for God bought you with a high price. So you must honor God with your body." So, sexual sin is different because it has potential to cause pain and separation with our relationship with God, others, and even ourselves, which is so tough. But the truth is God provides a way out of that temptation. And that's important for us to know as we move forward in our walk with Him. So when it comes to boundaries with this, maybe your temptation is private, so you need to have a little bit less private time. It's important for you to set the boundaries that are appropriate to attack the sinful desire that you are experiencing and that you are overcoming. Boundaries are great because they help us run from sexual sin, and it helps us honor God with our own bodies and to defend against temptation. Boundaries can protect us from making unwise choices when it comes to sex and even when it comes to our other temptations. So this week, my challenge for you guys is this: set some boundaries for yourself. You have a lot of free time at your house, and truly set some boundaries for yourself so that you're in the best mood. You can constantly pour into prayer in your relationship with God, and also set boundaries for yourself to just become a better person. less screen time, more outside. You guys can go outside. Take that time this week to do that. You have all the time in the world, and that can be a dangerous thing unless you let God into the picture. Thank you for tuning in.